podcast of the African diaspora. I'm your anchor, Ochanda, daily bringing you the top stories from Africa and the Caribbean. Let's take a look at today's news on Tuesday, June 18th, 2024. Let's go to Kenya, where protesters and police have been fighting. On Tuesday, police officers lobbed tear gas canisters at protesters attempting to converge at various spots in the CBD known as the Central Business District in the capital, Nairobi. The activists engaged police officers in running battles along Kimathi Street, Kenyatta Avenue, City Hall Way, Moi Avenue, and Tom Mboya. The activists, dressed in black and carrying anti-finance bill place cards, chanted, "Reject the finance bill." This was an attempt at getting into the Parliament building where they intended to stage a sit-in. Meanwhile, Nairobi police boss Adamson Bungei outlawed the planned demonstrations. Adamson dismissed any plans to hold protests, even as the organizers said that they had informed the police of their plans. According to the police boss, nobody applied for a gathering or picketing permit as expected. He stated that the station instead received a faulty document dated June of last year, which didn't meet the protest permission threshold. The quote-unquote Occupy Parliament protests had been organized by Kenyans on various social media platforms under the hashtag Reject Finance Bill, in an attempt to rally up numbers to pressure ministers of parliament to shoot down the contentious provisions in the bill. While the protests remained controversial, the outcome worked in the favor of the protesters, as Kenya's government scrapped some proposed taxes in this year's controversial bill, including a 16% levy tax on bread.
Polisi, kwani ununui mkate? Bibi yako anunui sanitary towels? Mtoto wako atumii zile diapers? So you police officers, I'm fighting for your rights. Nikisema occupy parliament, I'm fighting because of you.
This is our country. We will fight and die like our ancestors did. You are not going to scare
something. If you look at the Kenyan constitution, naitwa Kafarali. I'm actually an aspirant in Lower Savannah, Embakasi East constituency, under His Pekiness, His Excellency, Right Honorable Babu Owino. Now, I need to say something. If you look at the Kenyan Constitution, Section 4, under the Bill of Rights, Part 2, where we have the rights and freedom. Now, look at this. We as Kenyans, every Kenyan has a right to demonstrate. Every Kenyan has a right to picket. Every Kenyan has a right to present his petitions to the public authorities. So if you look around what is happening, these police officers are our brothers. They are our brothers and our sisters, and we respect them. So there's no way when we try to demonstrate our rights so that we can be able to fight for us Kenyan citizens, and then we see the police trying to harass us, to arrest us, and yet we are also fighting for the rights of the police officers. We are fighting for their rights so that their salaries can also increase. If you look at this, whatever that they're trying to pass today, this thing is going to kill us Kenyans. Our economy is going down. You know, and it's the right time for us Kenyans to know that we need to vote for the rightful leaders, not just politicians. We need to elect leaders. Thank you very much.
The announcement came by as MPs came, as police continued to fire tear gas and use water cannons to try to disperse angry protesters. Dozens of people were arrested, and lawyers joined chanting crowds at the city's main police station demanding that detainees be freed. Since coming into office back in 2022, President Dr. William Ruto had introduced several new unpopular taxes with the aim of eliminating the country's national debt of nearly $80 billion. Critics of the latest proposals fear that they will stifle economic growth and lead to job losses. The news of the dropped proposals of the bill was announced by Kuria Kimani, the chairman of the Parliamentary Finance Committee. His finance team had been collecting public views on the bill, and he said that the decision to drop some of the proposals had been made to protect Kenyans from the increasing cost of living. Other proposed taxes that were cut included ones on cooking oil, money mobile services, and motor vehicles. Mr. Kimani also announced a reversal on a proposed eco-tax that targeted products seen as having a negative impact on the environment, like packaging, plastics, and tires. A backlash faced with many arguing that the taxes would raise the cost of key goods such as napkins, sanitary towels, computers, and mobile phones. The levy would now only be applied to imported goods, according to the official. President Ruto did not speak or react during the briefing, but the move, which has been seen as succumbing to public pressure, will be a blow to his government. He recently urged Kenyans to accept more taxation, arguing that they were in fact undertaxed, but he also acknowledged that it would be difficult. Over the last 2 years, taxes on salaries, fuel, and gross sales have been hiked. A housing levy tax of 1.5% of a worker's monthly pay has also been introduced. Lawmakers are due to discuss the finance bill on Wednesday, which is why protests are being staged in the capital. Police had arrested several people accused of organizing the demonstrations. Those in Kenya, let us know your thoughts on the finance bill. Let us know your thoughts on the protests as well. Were you on the side for the finance bill or against it? Also, the protests. We go to France, where the president's office announces that they are preparing to reduce the number of soldiers on the African continent. France is planning to reduce its military presence in West and Central Africa to around 600 troops. This is in line with President Emmanuel Macron's plans to limit the French military's footprint in the region. According to a plan currently under discussion with African partners, France is planning to drastically reduce its so-called pre-position forces in Africa. The shift began back in February of last year when French President Emmanuel Macron announced a noticeable reduction of French troops' presence in Africa at a time when anti-French sentiment was running. According to two sources close to the government, France will keep only around 100 troops in Gabon and around 100 troops in Senegal. Also, France plans to keep around 100 troops in Cote d'Ivoire and around 300 personnel in Chad. The reduced presence could be increased over time depending on local needs, according to sources as well. Chad is now the last Sahel country to host French soldiers. The country Chad is surrounded by the Central African Republic, Sudan, Libya, and Niger. These countries also are hosting Russian paramilitary forces, resulting in the reorganization of the Wagner Group. Instead of combat missions, what French soldiers will be doing remaining in Africa will be providing training capabilities at their country's requests. Those in France, let us know your thoughts on the government's plan to reduce military personnel in the continent, also those in Africa, especially the Sahel and Western regions. Let us know your thoughts on France stating a plan on reducing military presence. Let's go to the Caribbean and end it there. We go to the U.S. Virgin Islands, where the governor pledges support for corruption investigations. U.S. Virgin Islands Governor Albert Bryan said recent corruption investigations involving government employees and members of his administration have the potential to ruin public trust. Governor Bryan made the comment yesterday as he confirmed the resignation of the director of the Office of Management and Budget, Jennifer O'Neill. The governor requested the resignations of O'Neill and Police Commissioner Ray Martinez due to an ongoing federal investigation that suggests corrupt practices were involved in contracts awarded by cybersecurity and surveillance company Mon Ethos Pro Support. The Virgin Islands Police Department paid $3.3 million to Mon Ethos Pro Support for CCTV services. O'Neill and Martinez have had their cell phones seized as part of the investigation. Attorney General Gordon Rea told reporters yesterday that O'Neill and Martinez have not been officially charged in connection with the investigation. Rea expressed his commitment to the investigation, stating, quote unquote, "We are in full cooperation with federal authorities to ensure the compliance and integrity." Governor Bryan also announced that his administration is taking proactive steps to strengthen ethical governance. To further support law enforcement efforts, Governor Bryan has committed an additional one-time element of $1 million to aid the development of the white-collar crime unit within the Department of Justice. Of the investigations following last week's announcement, the Department of Education Director of Maintenance, David Charlemagne, and his wife, Sasha Charlemagne, were arrested after a federal grand jury returned an indictment charging the pair with government program fraud, wire fraud, and money laundering conspiracy. Former Virgin Islands Housing Finance Authority COO Darren Richardson was also charged with criminal conflict of interest. It said that the three allegedly exploited hurricane recovery efforts in order to develop and carry out a $4 million scheme to defraud taxpayers. According to court documents, Virgin Islands Housing Finance Authority issued a contract for storage and management of wood that was to be shipped to the territories to be used for the reconstruction of commercial and residential buildings following hurricanes Irma and Maria back in 2017. The Charlemagnes are accused of inflating prices charged for their services as well as failing to report conflicts of interest. Those in the U.S. Virgin Islands, let us know on your thoughts on the governor stating that he's welcoming investigations and willing to cooperate fully. When we come back, we'll have today's African proverb of the day. Don't go anywhere.
New release of the Spring Summer Collection. Visit www.mccadero.com.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at today's African proverb of the day, and it comes to us from Senegal. What's going on, Senegal? Also, congratulations again to your guys' president and prime minister. They were just serving prison sentences. That's amazing, and they're the heads of state now. That's incredible. Anyways, congratulations to you two. And it reads, nobody tells all he knows. Once again, nobody tells all he knows. Senegalese proverb. Yeah. Who's telling everything that they know? Like, you really got to look at that person. I don't want to be a psychiatrist, but one psychology detail that I came upon is that oftentimes, like, the individuals that have to, like, say everything all at once, especially when you first meet them, sometimes it's a result of their childhood when they felt like they were neglected by being listened to by their parents. So if they felt like their parents was always trying to brush them off or trying to get them out of the way, not trying to give them any time, they grow up and they feel like whenever they meet people, they need to get out everything as soon as possible because they didn't get that when they were younger. But why you don't want to reveal everything about what you know or who you are, it's because it's good. It's good to have a mystery about you. It's good to have a mystery about what you're thinking about. You don't want to be not necessarily such an open book, because why do you want people to know everything? Unless that's just who you are. I understand that there's individuals out there that don't really care, but if you really care about your privacy, you kind of want to keep that hidden. Let me know your interpretation of today's African proverb of the day, as well as your thoughts, views, questions, comments, and concerns on the top stories. Don't forget to hit that like button. Make it your best friend. For Kush News on Kush Convos TV, I'm Ochanda. We'll see you soon.